Hiya, Hannah here, and welcome to part 2 of my videos for the Artists in Residence course. And in this section we're going to be decorating the circles that we made in the first video. Now those circles are called ATCs, which are Artist Trading Coins. And the reason why I chose to do those are because I wanted to utilise basic materials that I had in the house without using specialist equipment. So for this section, the materials that you can see in front of me are a selection of bits and pieces that I've used to decorate the Artist Trading Coins, but please feel free to use whatever you have to hand. So I'll write a list below and I'm going to go through what I've used. So starting with the pens, I've just used a standard Micron 01. I've got a white jelly roll, and then I've got two jelly rolls, both of which called Moonlights. One is in the dark blue and one is in the green. And I've got a water brush, paintbrush. I've got a pair of small scissors. I've got a pack of Faber-Castell watercolour pencils, but feel free to use whatever watercolour pencils you may have. I've got some different colour strings of hemp. I've got a selection of magazines which I've used, and I've cut out parts in each of them, just little words or little sentiments that that speak to me. So for example, I've got one here that says happiness, I've got another one that says de-stress, and I've got another one that says beautiful. But I've gone through these magazines, and I've got another one here that says explore, and as you can see I've just cut out words that just speak to me and mean something to me. The magazines I've used are just ones that I happened to have to hand, so I've just got a variety of arts and crafts. I've got a couple of travel magazines, a happiness, which actually is quite a nice, and then another travel book. I've used a few, they're called liquid pearls or stickles. They're just for the final parts of the decoration process. They're not something that you need to use. I've got some double-tipped colouring pens. They've got a narrow tip and then a thicker tip. I think the thick tip is 3mm and the narrow one is 0.8. The same watercolour pens that I used in the first video. And finally, I've got a couple of ink pads, and also I've just grabbed a couple of rubber stamps that I've got. But you can use whatever you need. The other way, if you don't have any rubber stamps, is to go through your cupboards and collect different size plastic lids, and then you can ink them up and make circles. And you'll probably find that you've got all sorts of bits and pieces that you didn't realise that you had, that you can be using as a stamping tool. Okay, so I'm going to get the Artist Trading Coins that I've got made, and we will begin. So since I made the first part, I've decided to do a couple of other things as well. Firstly, I decided that while I was making these circles, that I would also make some little ones, which I'm going to use as buttons and embellishments on some birthday cards and the tops of boxes, and I'll show some examples of those in the next video. So I've made a batch of those in those sizes. In fact, let me tell you how small they are. They are only 2.5 centimetres which is 1 inch. So as you can imagine, they're very small and they're not going to get much in the way of decoration, but I think they're really quite cute, and I've done them all in matching colours so that I can do sets of cards. The other thing I decided to do was I also do alcohol inks, and I decided to make a couple of covers with the alcohol inks that I've used on the Yupo paper, and I think they've come out rather well. I have yet to decorate them all, but I will show you. Oh, I've started on this one, as you can see. I've just used a white and a black pen. I don't think I've started on any others, but I can show you the finished results in the next video. And finally, using acrylic and watercolour paints, I had a couple of masterboards that I'd made, and I decided to cut some circles out. In fact, I can show you the examples. So here was one that I just cut the ends off and then cut the circles out, and I've covered these ones. Here's another masterboard, and I've just cut them out for these ones. I've got a couple more, and these ones are much larger. But all of these are made with materials that you can find around the home. So these are all paint that I've used on the top of a plastic tub lid. These ones I've sliced up an old credit card and I've just scratched the paint with. Again, this is a credit card where I've just used the side of it, and you get the idea. And here's another one, a masterboard that I've done using the same method. So the reason for showing you these is to give you a rough idea of what you can do and how you can decorate your artist trading coins. But I will show you how I've hand drawn and decorated the other ones, the ones that we made with watercolour backgrounds. So what I like to do when I'm decorating them is I like to group them together, firstly in size. And for this one, I've only got one of the pink in that size. I've got 2 oranges and I've got 3 blues. And then once I've gone through the sizes and I've grouped them together, I then decide that, for example, if I've got 3, I want to have them with the same theme. On this occasion, I decided that I did. So I chose these 3 colours that I felt went best with those 3 colours of blue. And I've just drawn an arrow on each one. And then using one of the stamps, I've just picked up some of the distress ink. This one is called Peacock Feathers, and I've just put some on each one, and I've done them at differing lengths. And then in between each of the stripes gap, I've gone back in and I've used my white Jelly Roll pen. And then very simply around the outside, I've used the thicker end of this pen, and I've gone round and I've just finished off just to fill in any gaps that there might be. And then using the 3 colours, I've just picked little crosses, circles, spirals, humps, arrows. And on these 3, I've put in 3 of the words that I'd cut out of one of the magazine: discover, explore and dream. And then all I've done really is sat down and had fun decorating it. The red one I've done slightly differently. I've got the Adventure Begins, and then I've chosen some pinks and some purples, and again I've just gone through and I've decorated it. And then round the outside I've just put some gold just to make it stand out, and I've actually put that on both sides. And then on the back I've just put a heart, and you can see I haven't finished this one. On the oranges, I've only got 2 this size, so I decided to put some of the rubber stamps on, and I've just picked the Tangleweb Creations mandala sets, and I will finish doing the same on this one. So I'm going to show you with the next size down how I make a set. So I've got together some of the artist trading coins that are the next size down, and I've got 3 of the orangey, yellowy, pinky ones, and I've got 4 of the green ones. So what I think I'll do is I will work on the set of 4. And the reason for making them a set is, well, the clue's in the title. They're artists trading coins. So if you want to trade them with your friends, then you can. But sometimes you can trade them as a group or individually. So if I was going to trade these ones, I'd probably trade them with 4 different people. And I've got a distress ink pad, and this one's called Evergreen Bough. And on this occasion, I'm just going around the outside, and I've just realised it probably doesn't help that I'm working on a green background. And all I'm doing is just putting the ink around the outside. It's not coming over, and I will continue to do that for each one of the 4 in the set, so that when they are traded, then they will all match. And then, because they're greeny, bluey, yellowy, I decided that I wanted to have a bit of a sea theme. So I've got a rubber stamp that are circles, or I think look like bubbles. And I'm just going to stamp across 1/2 of it. And I'm going to carry on doing that for all 4 of them. I'm then going to stay with the green ink pad, but I'm going to use an old credit card, and I'm going to just ink up the side of it, and then I'm just putting some vertical lines down the side. And it just goes to show that you don't need really specialist equipment as long as you've got the basic materials. And I think that 3 looks just right. To show you about basic materials, on the other 2, I'm going to ink up the end of this, and I'm just going to put a couple of circles on each one. And what I will do is when I've finished, I will turn these 2 over and put these circles on the other side, and I'll turn these ones over and put the bubbles on those ones, so that I've got a set of 4 where everything marries up. And I'm sure when you look around your house, you'll be quite surprised as to what you find that you have. Ooh. And again, I'm not being too fussy as to how they go on. I'm just at the moment looking just to make marks with it. I've got another stencil, not stencil, I beg your pardon, it's a stamp, and I'm just stamping up the end. I'm not even bothering to put it on a mount, and I'm just going to put some lines on these two. And again, this is just to get some background onto each of the coins. Now I have a selection of green pencils, and these are watercolour pencils, and I've chosen 4, and using these 4 I'm going to fill in the insides of the bubbles, and you'll notice that I'm not taking too much care, and that's because I'm going to use the water brush in a minute to finish it off. And I have to say that I really like the bubbles. I really think it makes quite a difference. And using my water brush, I'm going to start off with the lighter ones. So I can't see which the lighter ones are. And I'm just going through them. And I'm just smoothing them out. And I will come back to these bubbles when they're dry so that I can add some finishing touches to it. So now you can see next to each other the difference just a few watercolour pencils make. And I will do the same on these ones. They are much bigger. In fact, I'll finish those off, and what I'll do is I'll show you the finished results in the final part of this video. Now I would probably switch to using the green Moonlight, and this one is just is an 08. It doesn't actually have a colour to it. And now I'm going to start making some patterns of my own. And again, you can do whichever pattern, whichever way you want. And this, well, you can take as long as you want or as little time as you want. I ended up sitting out on the summer's day we had a few weeks back, and I spent several hours doing this. In fact, I think I lost the entire day. And I've decided that I want to add a circle following the full way round, and I'm going to do one of them in green and then I'm going to use my Micron 01 and I'm going to do the other one in black. And again, the reason for showing you this is so that you can make your own decisions as to how you want to go ahead and decorate them. And you might want to do a set where you do them with your children or your crafting buddies. And look at the difference between the two. In fact, I'll swap that to there. And I quite like the look of both of them. And then on this one, I'm just going to add a little squiggle along that line. And a squiggle along this line. And really, all I'm going to continue to do is swapping from my coloured pencils and coloured pens. I'm going to go round and I'm going to decorate each and every one of them in whichever patterns and shapes inspire me. And then once these circles that I coloured with watercolour are dry, I'm going to go back in with my white jelly roll, and I'm not quite sure that they're 100% dry yet. But I'm just putting a little semicircle down just to make them look more round. And while I've got my white pen out, I'm gonna fill those in. I will go back when these are drier and I'll put another coat on of the white. I don't think it's dry enough for you to really get to see the best. And this is the beauty of artist trading coins and artist trading cards, is really you can just decorate them however you want to decorate them. You can carry on hand drawing them like this. You can put bulk pen on them. You can use your master boards to create them. Whatever you feel like doing, but the general gist is just to have some fun and enjoy yourself. And when I finish these two, I would probably pick these two shades of green, one for stickles and one is the 3D pearl effect. And I would go in and I would put some dots all over, just in case you can't tell. I love circles. And for those of you that want to use the cuttings from your magazines, I've got one here that's green. I might decide to stick that on there. Although if I was going to do a set, I'd probably want four words. But I've also cut out some, actually I've not cut out, there's some leftover scraps that I had when I was doing another project, and I noticed that I quite like the greens on both sides of it. I might use those on them. Again, it's entirely up to you. The idea is to play, relax, have some fun and make some beautiful trading coins. Well, thank you for joining me for part 2, and in part 3 I'm going to show you the finished coins that I've done, and I've done quite a lot, and I'm also going to show you a couple of ways to use them as part of decoration. Some will be hanging, some will be mounted on cards, others will be in a little self-made envelope so that you can post them to your friends and family and let them know that you're thinking of them during this strange time. I hope you've had fun and I look forward to seeing what you make. Thank you for joining me. Bye for now.